This is lost in. One of the coolest vehicles I ever came across is an Alfa Romeo Sprint. The Alfa Romeo Sprint is a unique vehicle because the motor and transmission are in line at the front of the vehicle. And it's a front wheel drive vehicle. It's all crazy. All the weight is at the front of the vehicle. I thought the Italians were the only crazy ones to do this. But what if I told you a well-known American Brazilian brand also had this? I'm talking about the Ford CORCEL. You're lost in the Ford CORCEL. Strap on in, let's go. Ford CORCEL had a really unique upcoming. Like all the late 60s, early 70s cars here in Brazil, they all have really unique stories. The Ford CORCEL is no exception. Way back in 1967, Willys do Brazil, in partnership with Renault, was developing the M project. This gave rise to the Renault 12 in France and here in Brazil with a completely different body and name called the CORCEL. Originally, the CORCEL was launched as a four-door sedan. And then in 1969, it was released as a coupe. The car was well received on its debut, way back in 1968. Now it garnered a lot of attention due to its spacious interior, paired with a reserved elegant finish and design, with many more mechanical upgrades than its direct competitor, the VW Quattro Portos 1600, the Z do Caixão. A year after the compact CORCEL, Ford realized they were missing out on a huge market. In 1969, Ford realized the opportunity to expand the family and get closer to the public that craved for something more sporty. The first CORCEL was all looks and no show, dressed up in a nice tuxedo with no place to go. It did get a vinyl top, it did get a sporty, fast-moving sports stripe right down the center of the hood, and corresponding racing stripes down either side. Increased the speed, at least the look of it, and it got a 1.3 liter motor featuring double body Solex carburetors, raising the engine output from 68 to 80 horsepower, which that's a good increase, good for back then in the day, you know. The maximum speed and acceleration increased a wee bit, it did. 0 to 100 kilometers in about 18 seconds with a max speed of 138 kilometers per hour. The most powerful engine wouldn't be available until the end of 1971. At 1.4, producing 85 horsepower, giving the CORCEL a much needed performance boost, a little pep in its step, you know? The Ford factory made some overall changes to the appearance of the CORCEL, while all at the same time keeping the overall look of the body. In 1973, it got some much needed touch-ups, making it a little bit more similar to the Ford Maverick. However, the engine was the 1.4 that was used in the GT line. And this little motor was known as the XP engine. In 1975, the design was retouched again, increasing the similarity to that of the Ford Maverick once again, taking cues from Big Brother. These design cues were most noticeable at the rear of the car. About this time, a new ball game was added to the CORCEL line. This was the luxury decor option, offering a nice, posh luxury interior. This was also offered with a vinyl top, and until 1977, this model was receiving small cosmetic touch-ups, at the same time reserving the overall appearance of the car. And this was until 1978. It was the 1978 CORCEL 2, and this car, controversy as it is, was fugly. It was just ugly. It had all the same mechanics as the old 70s model, but a completely redesigned body. It was like the entire art department just said, nope, not working on it, we quit. It had absolutely no resemblance to the previous model, none whatsoever. It was truly effing ugly. In 1985, the CORCEL received the front end of the Del Rey, which made it a little bit easier on the eyes, but not much. It had a little bit of stylistic touch-ups, but it was still a very blah 1980s vehicle. Another thing that happened at this time was the designation of 2 from the CORCEL name was removed. And then sliding forward to 1986, such low sales, production was ended of the CORCEL. They closed that factory line, which ends this awesome little Brazilian car. What started as a French-Brazilian operation being bought out by Big Papa Bear Ford turned into this awesome vehicle that just found a perfect niche in the Brazilian hearts. It had like kind of a really small little muscle car vibe to it. It was such a neat little vehicle. Being the motor was in line with the transmission, front wheel drive, you know, that's unique in the world of automotives. Yeah. So that ends another story of an awesome Brazilian car. I want to thank you guys for spending your time with me here on Lost In. If you hadn't, please subscribe, give a little thumbs up, and share this with your primo. It might bother them, but it means the world to me. Thank you so much. So with that being said, I'll see you on the flip side. Até a próxima. Ciao, ciao.